Okay, great. Well, here we are in the
Okay.
Mayo Foundation.
Hi.
Allison, how are you all doing? What's going on?
We're doing, okay. You know, we closed maybe like 2.5 weeks ago. So just like everybody else, we're closed to the public and trying to figure out what that really means going forward and having to like being forced to make some staffing changes, like hopefully temporary staffing changes. um, but still keep doing the job and all of that. How are you guys doing?
Well, Sarah unfortunately took a internship at the opera, the National Opera,
Oh,
but we're going ahead and everything's been postponed. The two big projects we had, which were going to be last week, they've been postponed to April 2021.
yeah.
And then every day we're launching Memoirs, which was our book that came out in 2007. So each day we're doing a post on one of the highlights of the last 50 years
Yeah.
of
You know, what I was thinking is so we
and
can
you're part
maybe,
of and Hillyer's part of that.
yeah, yeah. I thought maybe we could just introduce ourselves. So if we ever get to post some of this interview, I know you and you know me, but so maybe you could just say like your name and where you live and a little bit about what you've been doing.
So my name is Mary Angela Schroth, and I'm the director of Sala Uno, which is probably Italy's oldest nonprofit space for contemporary experimental art. And we started at the end of the 60s. We have a very special place, which is an ex-church. It's part of the extraterritorial domain of the Holy See, the Vatican. But of course, we have nothing to do with the Vatican. So a series of exhibitions for many years, and I came on board in 1985.
Amazing. Yeah, I was just looking at, so I saw that you, like you said, you started like posting for the next 8 weeks, posting memories. And then I saw on Facebook that from when you like worked with David Hammond.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Now, David has supported Sala Uno for more than 30 years, and David's flaky. He's a very unusual man, and I must say that he loves Sala Uno, and he loves me too. So that's been part of our story. And I think I recounted the story of the Ferrari. That
Yeah.
he came to me. He was in Rome in the 90s. He lived there. He was at the American Academy for a year, and he wanted to do something with Ferrari, and was convinced that Sala Uno, being the poorest of the poor, had no access to a Ferrari. And we did have a Ferrari in our backyard in this kind of garage thing. Somebody had it, but it was the poorest of the poor of a Ferrari with dog hairs. And we did a series of kind of actions, let's say, photographed by Stefano Fontebasso Di Martino, who's been documenting Sala Uno's activities since the early 80s. And David, what can you say? He came the other year after the Biennale in Marrakesh, and when we were doing the 90th birthday of Tito, our founder. And of course, he did not tell me he was going to come to Rome. And there were hundreds of people at this event, Allison. We all looked around, and there was David Hammonds with his corner. And not everything, Mary Angela, but yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful thing for him to do.
Wow, that's so cool. So obviously you're American. So maybe how did you end up in Rome? I actually don't think I know the answer to that. I was thinking.
Oh, well, it's too long to recount here. It reads like a novel, but it's true that I was, I worked for many years for CBS News in New York, but New York for me was limiting. So I thought, well, I'll just move to Europe, and I thought about going. I went to France and hung out for a while, got some really good jobs actually. And then, fortunately or unfortunately for me, I fell in with the artists, the contemporary artists, and started a nonprofit space, and never went back really to any kind of a normal life.
Wow.
And of course, Rome, the French said, oh, there's nothing. I said, well, I'd really like to go to Rome. And, because my major in university was Latin and classical studies. I said, oh, I'd like to go to Rome. And the French said, why would you ever go to Rome? There's nothing in Rome, typically French. And it's going on right now with a big fight we're having with the European community with this coronavirus problem. But anyway, I did not listen to the French. And I'll never forget, I came to Rome and they said, I said to someone, I want to curate, I want to start, my own nonprofit space here. And the woman looked at me and she said, well, we have quite a few galleries here. Why do you think that who would even want you, kind of thing, And I've never forgotten that, Allison, but I never listened. I never listened. And then met Tito and then the Sala Uno space and, the rest is kind of history, but it's just because I really wanted to come to Rome, I think.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about Tito? He's an artist himself and his studio is at Sala Uno.
Right. He's a Passionist priest, but they let him go to the Arts Academy in Florence, where he studied with Primo Conti, who was one of the last futurists. And he is really a formidable sculptor, but more of a modernist. He came to the Holy Stairs as a priest at the end of the 60s. I think he came in like 66, found that whole space abandoned and took it over for contemporary art. But he took it over because he wanted to show other artists, especially that type of art that is not easily placed in an institutional or commercial context.
Mm-hmm.
And he died in 2018, tragic. He was 92. Hold on, I'm gonna have to put on my plug. Hold on.
Okay.
Tell how prepared I am, Allison, but that's okay. Hold on. Yeah, just, oh dear. Hold on, let me just get it back here. There we go. So there's a little bit of a glare there. I have to take off my glasses. So yeah, that's the story. And he was, he was an extremely generous person too. And but most of all, he wanted to have a program of artists that were experimental and not part of the, even though we've had some very, very commercial artists, obviously like David Hammons or something like that, but he really was a pioneer in Italy for what we call the artist space. And as in the 70s in New York, that kind of started. And, because artists got tired of being refused by galleries and museums. So of course they're going to start their own spaces, but most artist spaces are doomed to end because no artist wants to work forever for other artists. So, the whole concept of an artist space kind of really finished, I think, in the early 80s.
Mm. And then Tito's studio is still on site. And can people see his work there, or what's going on with his work right now?
Well, we the priest that took over we made a foundation for Tito, and it's one of the Passionist priests is the president. And it's not going to be like before. Things are very slow with these clerics, and but we did have a big opening in January, and we're going to be opening the studio by appointment. So that artistic patrimony will be on view.
Amazing. I was thinking, I don't know if I've ever been to a space like Sala Uno because it has like the Holy Stairs on the one side and then kind of around the back. There's this amazing art space. I think you have a theater. It's like a black box theater there. And when I was there was architects.
Yeah, that's right. The theater, since you left your last visit, the group of young people have taken over the theater. It's called Theater Basilica now. And they're doing some amazing things, contemporary choreography and music and prose. So that's been regenerated now, and we're working with them. In fact, one of their first productions involve the gallery as well. And of course, we have our architects, you're right, and then restorers. So yeah, it's kind of like October Gallery in London, but small and not quite as important. You know, October Gallery is a church essentially. And have you ever been?
I haven't.
Oh no, Allison. Next time you go to London, it's just like Sala Uno, but more successful because they do sell art. They have a restaurant. It's gigantic. They have a fabulous garden. They have a library where they can hold events. They have a piano in there. It's just a really, and then they have a series of rooms for artists and people like us to stay. And it's right across from St. Martin's, the school in the center of London. Wow. Right around the corner from the British Museum. So, you know, you see something like October Gallery and then you look at something like Sala Uno, but still. And October Gallery, strangely enough, is run by an American woman. Oh. Chili Hawes, yeah, isn't that funny?
So then also, like, Sala Uno has this like beautiful garden, which you can't see. You like come through this gate, you walk up this like archway with these, you know, beautiful vines kind of growing, at least in the spring, beautiful vines. And then there's another gate and there's this beautiful garden, and clearly artists have had a hand in making that garden. And then there's also some facilities there, some like rooms.
Right, we do have an artist residency and with Great Britain, and that's unfortunately this year. I'm afraid it might be canceled.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was started as a church in the 1920s and then never completed and then recuperated by Tito, our founder. So it's hidden. You know, remember it was probably hard for you to find it the first time. But this is not necessarily negative.
Yeah.
Because it makes it a more special destination. In fact, The Guardian puts Sala Uno on the 10 most important things to see in Rome.
Wow.
I know. And I didn't even know the journalist, not like I gave him a tip or anything, you know, he's just, you know, and we found that somebody told me, oh, you're on this, you know, the top 10 list for Rome, the things to see. And I was floored, Allison. But I think the fact that we're hidden and that it's a kind of unusual destination has added to our identity more than detracted. And you have the same thing in a way. I mean, you're right next to the Phillips. You're right in DuPont Circle. You're in the most fabulous area of Washington. And yet it's not, I mean, it took me a couple minutes to find it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're really super lucky to have neighbors like the Phillips collection, because we definitely are tucked behind this alley. So it's definitely, you know, you don't just like stumble upon it very easily, but yeah, the Phillips are incredible neighbors. Yeah, and DuPont Circle is a great neighborhood to be a part of. So,
David, did David Fortune, is he the founder of Hillyer?
Yeah, so David is the founder of International Arts and Artists, and it's 25 years old, or it's about to be 25 years old, so 1995, and he started it wasn't at the current location, because originally it started doing with just the traveling exhibitions. So
that's right.
Locally in DC, most people know Hillyer, because we're like the Washington initiative, but started with our traveling exhibitions. So that's working with museums and curators and lenders to organize exhibitions and then travel them around the US and internationally. And then the next step was the cultural exchange program. So we have a designation from the State Department that allows us to provide J-1 visas and immigration support for artists or arts professionals to come to the US for internships, training, scholarly work, things like that. And then Hillyer was like the next part of that. And so we, through a facilities grant from the local government, from the DC government, we were able to like renovate the building that we're in now. And we were renting for a long time from someone else who's involved in the arts community, who used to have his space there. he was a great supporter to allow us to rent that space, and we purchased it from him in end of 2014. So yeah, and then David retired last year. So there's been a lot of transition in the past year, but yeah, Hillyer I've been there for almost 7 years, 6.5 years. So.
Oh, Allison, the time has flown by, hasn't it?
Time has flown by. I was at my last job for like 5 years, and then it feels like, yeah, definitely when I look at pictures, I feel like I look significantly older than I did 7 years ago. But it's been really great. I mean, I get to work with so many local artists, but also international artists, and then all kinds of different partners for programming. So personally, I've grown a lot and learned a lot. And I'm looking forward to reopening and seeing how we're all going to navigate through that and what it looks like.
Great. Well, it's thanks to you that we had those two very successful sister cities.
Yeah.
And that's something that links us. Sala also has a great outreach internationally for internships and artist exchange. Yeah. So what can you say? Let's try to do some business next year or when this thing ends, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah.
And I'll see you this summer. Hopefully I'll be able to come in July. What do you think?
I don't know. How is it in Rome? I mean, I've talked to a couple Rome-based artists, and they've said it's not as bad as other parts, but.
Well, it's pretty eerie because there's literally no one, and we're talking now from the Salvatore Mayo Foundation, which is an artist foundation that I'm the president. Italian-American artist who died in Rome in 2004, left me his estate, and we made a foundation. So I'm at the Trevi Fountain, and I have never seen this area with no people. And in a way, it's absolutely wonderful. Right. On the other hand, though, it's hard when you can't work, when you can't go out, when you can't do your exhibitions, go to other exhibitions.
Right.
The Raphael show is, it's on view, but nobody can see it.
Right.
People are doing virtual tours, but it's not the same. And of course, we're all worried about the economic downturn. But Rome is such an extraordinarily beautiful city that, we're kind of struck by the fact that we have it to ourselves. And one thing that's kind of interesting. On the other hand, though, we have relatively few cases of the virus here, thank goodness. Yeah. And we're seeing the peak now. Little by little, the cases are going down relatively. So I think we're going to be okay.
Great. Yeah. So we're definitely behind Italy, but it's definitely coming to that. So most of us have been working from home for the past couple of weeks, if we can. My husband's still been going in every other day and then teleworking from home, but we just, like Maryland, Virginia, DC, so this whole DC region now has a shelter in place. So getting more strict about keeping people, apart. So yeah, it's scary. It's a lot of change really quickly. And yeah, I'm not sure, I hope you can come in the summer. We're hoping to reopen in July. That's what we're crossing our fingers for.
Great. Yeah, because hopefully I'll be there in July. If they can, let me just turn it. You can tell I'm so dumb. I don't even know how to turn down the sound on my cell phone. Yeah, let's just put July as our objective, our goal.
Great. Sounds great.
And hope to see you then.
I hope to see you then too, Mary Angela. It was great to see your face.
Great.
And yeah, let's stay in touch and just check in on each other.
Great. Sister City. Sister Now.
Exactly. All right.
Thanks so much for hosting me. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.